Imagine a quiet, gentle voice reaching into the depths of your heart, a voice that has been speaking to every human being across time and space. It does not shout or demand, nor does it appear in grand, dramatic moments. Instead, it whispers softly, urging, inviting, guiding. This is the voice of God, calling each one of us at some point in our lives. Whether you notice it in a fleeting moment of reflection, during times of challenge, or in the quiet rhythm of your daily routine, it is always present, patiently waiting for your attention. From the earliest days of humanity, stories and experiences reveal that no one is exempt from this divine invitation. Every culture, every era, every individual has encountered it in some way. Perhaps it came as an unexplainable sense of purpose, a sudden clarity during confusion, or a gentle nudge toward compassion, courage, or justice. The call is personal and unique, yet universal, touching all hearts, regardless of age, background, or circumstance. Consider, for a moment, the small, often overlooked moments that might carry this call. A person helping a stranger without expectation, a student staying up late to support a friend in need, a neighbor standing up for what is right despite criticism. These moments, seemingly ordinary, may be the echo of something far greater, a quiet alignment with the purpose God has placed within us. It reminds us that the call is not always loud or immediate. Sometimes it unfolds slowly, revealing itself through patience, reflection, and consistent effort toward goodness. Listening to this call requires more than just hearing. It requires openness, awareness, and courage. Many go through life so absorbed in daily routines or worldly concerns that the voice is barely noticed or dismissed entirely. Yet those who pause, who reflect, and who take the time to consider life's deeper questions often find themselves drawn to paths they had never imagined, paths filled with meaning, fulfillment, and lasting impact. Answering this call is not about perfection or a single dramatic decision. It is about the small, conscious choices we make each day to align with our highest values, to act with integrity, and to nurture the qualities that reflect our truest selves. It is in these choices that the fruit of our lives begins to grow, fruit that reaches beyond ourselves, touching the lives of others in ways that echo far into the future. So today, as you reflect on your own life, consider whether you have paused to listen to that gentle invitation. Have you acknowledged the moments when a quiet inner voice called you toward compassion, courage, or purpose? The journey may not always be easy, and it may require stepping beyond comfort and certainty. But it is in responding to this call that life gains its deepest meaning. If this message resonates with you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content that helps you explore life's greater purpose. Share it with someone who may need a gentle reminder that they, too, are being called. Let us journey together, discovering the subtle, yet profound ways God reaches each human heart, guiding us toward a life of true fulfillment, lasting impact, and quiet. There is a mystery in the way God reaches into the lives of people, not with force or intimidation, but with a gentleness that disarms the noise of the world. His invitation is not like the demands we so often hear around us, demands for success, for recognition, for constant striving. Instead, it comes as a quiet call that touches something deep within, reminding us that we are more than what we own, more than what we achieve, more than what others expect of us. This invitation to follow Him is one of love and freedom, an invitation that allows each heart to respond in its own time and its own way. It is never imposed, never shouted, never bound by pressure. It is a soft pull toward a higher path, a life where peace and purpose dwell together. When people encounter this gentle call, it often comes when they least expect it. A tired worker heading home after a long day feels an inexplicable urge to pause and look at the evening sky, sensing for a moment that life has meaning beyond the daily grind. A young student, overwhelmed by choices, feels a sudden clarity that guides them toward compassion rather than competition. An elderly woman sitting quietly by a window recalls memories of her life and realizes that even in hardship, she was never alone. These moments are not random. They are whispers, reminders that the Creator has been near all along, patiently waiting for us to notice. What makes this invitation remarkable is that it speaks to every kind of person. It does not discriminate between the strong and the weak, the rich and the poor, the learned and the simple. Throughout history, kings and shepherds, merchants and poets, scholars and children have all testified to the same quiet voice, calling them toward a life of greater depth. It is not a path reserved for the perfect or the holy, but a journey open to anyone who dares to listen. The call may come softly, but once heard, it awakens a longing that cannot be ignored, a hunger for truth, beauty, and goodness that no worldly possession can satisfy. To follow this call is not to escape the world, but to walk through it with new eyes. It means seeing ordinary tasks as opportunities to serve, transforming routine into meaning, and lifting burdens not only for ourselves but also for those around us. God does not call us away from life, but into it deeper, fuller, richer. The invitation is not about abandoning responsibility. It is about discovering the sacred in the everyday and learning to carry light into places where darkness has settled. And yet, the invitation is always gentle. We are never forced, never manipulated. Instead, God respects our freedom, honoring our ability to choose. He waits at the threshold of our hearts, not breaking down the door but knocking softly, allowing us to open it in our own time. This patience shows us something profound, that love cannot be demanded. It can only be given freely. The invitation to follow Him is, at its heart, an invitation to love and to be loved in return, to enter into a relationship where grace replaces fear and hope replaces despair. For those who accept this gentle call, life is never the same again. It may not become easier, and challenges will still come, but the journey is infused with meaning that no hardship can erase. To know that your steps are guided, that your choices can bear fruit which lasts beyond your lifetime, that your struggles are not in vain, this is the gift of responding to the invitation. Each act of kindness, each moment of courage, each sacrifice made in love becomes a reflection of the one who first called you. And so, the story continues, just as it always has, one human heart at a time, hearing the whisper, sensing the pull, and choosing to follow. This is the quiet miracle happening all around us. Every day, in ways large and small, God's gentle invitation is not just for the saints of history or the heroes of faith, it is for you, for me, for everyone. It is the reminder that no matter where we are or what we face, there is a path before us that leads to life in its truest form, waiting for us to take the first step. It is a truth that humbles and inspires at the same time. Individuals do not choose God, but rather, God chooses them, setting into motion a plan far beyond what the human mind can fully comprehend. This choice is not random, nor is it based on human merit or achievement. Yet it carries with it a profound purpose that touches not only the life of the chosen individual, but also the lives of countless others. From the moment of that quiet, almost imperceptible selection, a journey begins, a journey that invites the heart to trust, to surrender, and to participate in something far greater than itself. There is a gentle power in this knowledge, a quiet reassurance that life is not merely a series of accidental events but a carefully woven story in which each of us plays a meaningful part, even if we cannot yet see the full design. Throughout history, countless lives testify to this mysterious and deliberate choice. Ordinary people have been summoned to extraordinary tasks. Their names perhaps forgotten by the world, yet their impact ripples through generations. Consider the story of a young woman who, despite humble beginnings and few resources, found herself drawn to serve her community in ways she never imagined. Guided by a sense of purpose she could not explain, each challenge she faced, each moment of doubt, became a stepping stone toward a life that bore lasting influence. In her story, as in so many others, the thread is the same. God's choice comes first, and the person discovers their purpose by responding to the call, often with courage and humility they did not know they possessed. This concept overturns the conventional way we view control and achievement. Society tells us that we must constantly strive, earn, and prove ourselves to be worthy of success or recognition. Yet the spiritual truth is beautifully contrary. Before any effort, any striving, any decision to follow, God has already chosen, already appointed, and already placed us on a path of significance. This removes the burden of having to earn favor or fear failure and replaces it with a profound freedom, an invitation to align our will with the purpose that has been lovingly set before us. The call to serve, to create, to bear fruit in the world, is not merely a suggestion, it is a life laid out for fulfillment, with guidance and opportunity woven into the fabric of each day. Understanding this choice transforms the way one lives. It infuses ordinary actions with extraordinary meaning, as the simplest acts of kindness or courage are now recognized as part of a greater plan. When a teacher patiently helps a struggling student, a doctor comforts a patient beyond the call of duty, or a neighbor reaches out to someone in loneliness. These are not just random acts, they are echoes of the purpose for which each life has been chosen. In this light, no life is insignificant, no effort wasted, and no heart ignored. Each moment becomes a chance to step into the destiny that God has already envisioned, to participate in the unfolding of something timeless and far-reaching. There is also a comforting aspect to this truth, the recognition that our purpose does not rest solely on our own understanding, strength, or timing. Even when confusion, failure, or fear clouds the path, the choice of God endures, guiding us subtly, persistently, and often invisibly toward the fulfillment of that purpose. The journey is not always easy, nor is it always clear, but it is always meaningful. In accepting that we are chosen, we find the courage to embrace life fully, to take risks for the sake of what is true and good, and to trust that the challenges we face are shaping us into instruments of lasting impact. As you reflect on your own life, consider that the paths you walk, the opportunities that appear, and the passions that stir within you may not be mere coincidences, but invitations into a greater story. God has chosen you, and in that choice lies both the freedom and the responsibility to live with intention, to act with love, and to bear fruit that will endure beyond what the eyes can see, beyond what the mind can measure, into the quiet eternity of purpose fulfilled. The moment of being chosen is only the beginning, for those whom God selects are not called merely to exist, but to bear fruit that endures, to plant seeds of meaning that will grow far beyond the span of a single life. This fruit is not always visible at first glance, and it does not always take the shape of fame, wealth, or recognition. It is the kind of fruit that transforms hearts, shapes communities, and leaves a legacy that continues quietly yet powerfully, like roots running deep beneath the surface of the earth, sustaining life long after the first seed has been sown. To bear this fruit requires attentiveness, courage, and a willingness to cultivate the gifts and opportunities that God places before each of us, trusting that even small acts, when rooted in purpose, can grow into something far greater than we can imagine. Throughout history, countless lives reflect this truth, Consider the story of a man who spent decades teaching in a small village, never seeking acclaim, never recording his deeds, yet whose students went on to become leaders, innovators, and compassionate citizens. His work, though seemingly ordinary, produced fruit that reached generations. Or think of a woman who quietly tended to her community, supporting the sick, the poor, and the lonely, her efforts unnoticed by most, yet leaving a legacy of kindness and resilience that shaped the hearts of those she touched. In these stories, the fruit is not immediate or spectacular. It is enduring, transformative, and life-giving, the result of consistent devotion and intentional action over time. To understand this calling is to see life through a lens that transcends the temporary and the superficial. Every decision, every act of love, every sacrifice made in service of a higher purpose contributes to a tree of fruit that grows unseen until its impact blooms in unexpected ways. When a young person chooses honesty over convenience, when a neighbor offers help without expecting recognition, when a hand reaches out to lift someone from despair, these moments are part of a greater harvest, evidence that the purpose for which we were chosen is being fulfilled. The challenge, of course, is patience, for fruit often takes time to appear, and the effects of one's actions may not be fully visible until far into the future. When the seeds planted long ago bear blossoms we may never have anticipated. The concept of lasting fruit also invites reflection on intention. Fruit is not measured by quantity alone, but by quality, by the depth of impact on the hearts and lives of others. It is nurtured by integrity, compassion, and dedication, and it grows strongest when aligned with a purpose greater than personal gain. Even failures and hardships, when met with perseverance and humility, contribute to the richness of the harvest, teaching resilience and shaping character. In this way, those chosen to bear fruit are guided not only by opportunity, but by the inner cultivation of virtues that allow their influence to multiply, touching countless lives in ways both seen and unseen. Living with this awareness changes the way one perceives everyday life. Ordinary moments become meaningful, simple actions become opportunities for impact, and the challenges and trials of life are understood as part of the growth process necessary for enduring fruit. The work is never in vain, even when it goes unnoticed by the world, because the true measure of success lies in the transformation it brings and the lasting legacy it creates. Ultimately, to be chosen and appointed to produce lasting fruit is an invitation to live with purpose, to see beyond the immediacy of our own desires, and to invest in a vision of life that transcends the individual. It is to understand that each act of kindness, courage, and integrity is a seed, and that patience, faith, and dedication will allow that seed to grow into a harvest that enriches not just the present, but the future as well. In embracing this calling, one discovers that the beauty of life lies not in fleeting achievements, but in the enduring influence we leave behind, a reflection of the divine purpose for which we were chosen. There is a remarkable promise woven into the very fabric of being chosen by God, a promise that those who walk in alignment with His purpose will find their deepest needs and longings met in ways that surpass human understanding. For whatever is asked in God's name, the Father will grant. This is not a guarantee of instant gratification or effortless life, nor does it imply that every whim or fleeting desire will be fulfilled, but rather that when a heart sincerely seeks guidance, wisdom, courage, or the strength to act in accordance with a higher calling, the response comes in a multitude of ways. Often subtle, yet profoundly transformative, it is as if the world itself bends in gentle obedience to the earnest requests of a life attuned to divine purpose. Opening doors, revealing paths, and aligning circumstances to bring about results that serve not only the individual, but the broader tapestry of human lives. Consider the story of a young woman who, feeling overwhelmed by the challenges of caring for her aging parents while pursuing her own dreams, turned to prayer not with expectation of ease, but with a request for clarity and endurance. In response, opportunities appeared in unexpected ways. Neighbors offered assistance, resources became available, and solutions she could not have foreseen emerged, allowing her to continue both her responsibilities and her aspirations. In this experience, the granting of her requests was not a miraculous erasure of difficulty, but a manifestation of divine orchestration, a way of shaping her journey so that both her needs and her purpose were fulfilled simultaneously. Similarly, countless historical accounts and everyday stories reflect this principle. Those who ask in alignment with God's will find doors opening, insights arriving, and courage manifesting when it is most required, guiding them to act in ways that bear lasting fruit. This dynamic reveals a profound relationship between intention, faith, and action. To ask in God's name is not merely to speak words. It is to cultivate a heart attuned to His wisdom, a spirit prepared to act in service and love, and a mind ready to discern the ways in which the request may be answered. Often, the fulfillment comes not in the form one expects, but in forms that teach resilience, expand understanding, and deepen character. A student seeking guidance for an important decision may find clarity through an unexpected mentor, a moment of insight, or a sequence of circumstances that illuminate the right path, demonstrating that divine response transcends human expectation while remaining intimately connected to the seeker's purpose. Moreover, this promise strengthens the courage to step into challenges. For those who trust that their sincere petitions are heard can approach life with a sense of partnership with the divine. Decisions that once seemed overwhelming become navigable. Trials that appeared insurmountable reveal pathways forward, and the weight of uncertainty is lightened by the assurance that guidance, support, and provision are available when sought with sincerity and faith. It is in this interplay of asking, trusting, and acting that the journey of purpose unfolds most vividly, each step empowered by a presence that orchestrates outcomes beyond mere human planning. In essence, the promise that whatever is asked in God's name will be granted is a call to live with intentionality and trust, to recognize that life's challenges and opportunities are not random, but woven into a larger design that responds to hearts aligned with goodness, service, and devotion. It invites reflection on the ways we seek help, the clarity with which we define our intentions, and the commitment we bring to the actions that follow. As we learn to ask wisely, with courage and humility, the responses we receive guide us, strengthen us, and often surpass our expectations, reinforcing the understanding that being chosen carries not only responsibility, but also the profound support of a divine presence actively participating in the fulfillment of our purpose. Through every challenge, triumph, and quiet moment of decision, this principle remains a beacon. To live in alignment with God is to know that our requests, rooted in sincerity and purpose, are met with guidance, strength, and provision, ensuring that the path we walk is not walked alone, but accompanied by the infinite care of a loving Creator whose intent transforms intention into enduring impact. To follow the path that God lays before us is to step into a life that is deliberately distinct from the rhythms, values, and expectations of the world, a life set apart not as a matter of pride or separation for its own sake, but as a reflection of a higher purpose that calls for clarity, integrity, and depth. Believers are invited to navigate a reality where the pressures of material success, social recognition, and fleeting pleasures are no longer the ultimate measures of worth, where the loudest voices and the most persuasive trends do not dictate the heart's choices. and where the quiet guidance of conscience and divine wisdom takes precedence over the transient allure of the crowd. This separation is not always visible to others, nor is it always understood by those who remain fully immersed in worldly pursuits, yet it shapes every decision, every interaction, and every pursuit, creating a life that resonates with purpose, consistency, and the subtle, enduring power of faith in action. Consider the life of someone who has experienced this distinction in subtle yet profound ways. A young professional may find themselves excelling in a competitive industry yet feeling a constant tension between ethical integrity and the shortcuts or compromises that others seem to accept as normal. By choosing to adhere to honesty, fairness, and compassion, they may initially feel isolated, perhaps even misunderstood, yet their reputation, influence, and impact unfold in ways that surpass the superficial rewards offered to those who conform to the world's fleeting standards. Every choice to act with conscience, to prioritize what is right over what is expedient, becomes a thread in a tapestry that reflects the divine guidance shaping their life, a manifestation of being set apart in service of a lasting purpose. This distinction extends beyond ethical decision-making into every aspect of life. The way believers relate to money, relationships, ambition, and success is subtly transformed by the awareness that their values are aligned with something far greater than immediate gratification. Where the world measures success by accumulation, status, or approval, those who are set apart measure their lives by integrity, generosity, love, and the quiet impact of deeds done without expectation of reward. This does not make life easier or shield one from challenge. In fact, the world often resists what is different, sometimes with criticism or misunderstanding. Yet it is precisely through these tests that the strength and clarity of faith are revealed and refined. Throughout history, the influence of those set apart has rippled outward, shaping societies in ways that are not always immediately recognized. Leaders, teachers, caregivers, and ordinary people acting with courage and principle have altered the course of communities, inspired justice, and created environments where goodness could thrive. Their lives, while distinct from prevailing norms, became beacons that demonstrated the enduring value of choices guided by faith rather than conformity, revealing that being set apart is not isolation but alignment with a higher, sustaining current that carries life forward in profound ways, even in small, everyday decisions. The awareness of being set apart transforms perspective, choosing patience over anger, generosity over selfishness, honesty over convenience, or service over self-interest turns routine moments into acts of significance, infusing life with meaning that transcends the superficial rhythms of the world. It is a quiet revolution, unfolding not through spectacle but through consistent, intentional alignment with principles that endure, showing that the separation from worldly influence is not a limitation, but a liberation, enabling a life that bears fruit, fosters growth in others, and resonates with the purpose for which one was chosen. In the end, to be set apart is to live with a consciousness that each action, each word, and each thought can reflect the higher calling that guides life beyond the ordinary, connecting the believer to a timeless narrative of purpose, transformation, and enduring impact that the world may not always understand, but which leaves a legacy that cannot be measured by fleeting standards, only by the depth of influence and the quiet power of a life lived in alignment with what is eternal and true. To be chosen by God is a privilege that carries with it a profound responsibility, and with that responsibility often comes a resistance from the world, a subtle or sometimes overt opposition that tests the resolve and character of those who walk in alignment with divine purpose. The world, enamored with comfort, conformity, and immediate gratification, often recoils at what is different, what challenges prevailing norms, or what elevates values beyond the transient standards of popularity or personal gain. For those who are set apart, who strive to live with integrity, compassion, and courage, this resistance can take many forms: skepticism, criticism, exclusion, or even outright hostility. Yet it is not a mark of failure or weakness, but a reflection of the tension between enduring truth and fleeting worldly desires. Consider the stories of individuals throughout history who felt the weight of this opposition. A teacher who insists on fairness and ethical standards may face ridicule from colleagues who take shortcuts. Yet over time, the impact of her commitment shapes generations of students in ways invisible at first, but immeasurable in the long term. A social reformer who challenges injustice may be met with threats or ostracism, yet the courage to act in accordance with a higher calling often sparks movements that bring profound change to entire communities. Even ordinary lives, when lived with principled devotion, encounter friction from a world resistant to values that demand sacrifice. Selflessness and accountability. These moments of opposition are not signs that the chosen path is wrong, but rather markers of its significance, revealing that living with purpose and integrity inherently disrupts the easy flow of conformity and challenges the comfort of those around us who have not yet embraced such a life. This opposition, while difficult, serves as a crucible, forging strength, patience, and resilience in those who persevere. It teaches lessons that cannot be learned in moments of ease, showing that the path of the chosen is rarely free of trial but rich with growth. When criticized for standing firm in honesty, when marginalized for prioritizing principle over convenience, or when misunderstood for embracing a life of service over self-interest, the believer learns to rely not on the fleeting approval of others, but on the enduring guidance and affirmation of God. This internal alignment fosters a quiet confidence, a steadfastness that allows one to act not for recognition, reward, or acceptance, but for the fulfillment of a purpose that transcends worldly judgment. The experiences of resistance and hatred also reveal the deeper influence of those chosen. Just as a seed must struggle through soil to reach the light, so too must individuals contend with opposition to bear fruit that lasts. The challenges faced become part of the testimony, a demonstration that values rooted in divine calling cannot be shaken by external forces. The world's pushback, rather than diminishing impact, often highlights the transformative nature of the work being undertaken, showing that true influence is measured not by popularity or ease, but by the enduring changes it fosters in hearts, communities, and even future generations. Living with this awareness requires courage and discernment. One must learn to distinguish between harmful conflict and meaningful challenge, to respond with wisdom rather than reaction, and to maintain focus on the long-term purpose rather than immediate approval. Every moment of tension, every act of misunderstanding, becomes an opportunity to strengthen character, deepen faith, and reinforce commitment to a life that bears fruit far beyond what the world can measure. The path is not simple, and the journey is often lonely. Yet it is precisely through these trials that the chosen are refined, their influence magnified, and their capacity to enact lasting good realized. Ultimately, being chosen by God is both a gift and a call to courage. For the opposition of the world is not an obstacle but a signpost, pointing to the meaningfulness of the life lived in alignment with divine purpose. It reminds those who follow that enduring values will never be fully embraced by all, that truth often meets resistance, and that the most significant achievements are rarely easy or comfortable. In embracing this reality, one discovers that opposition is not to be feared but understood as a natural companion to a life of significance, shaping the chosen into vessels capable of leaving an enduring legacy that outlasts criticism, misunderstanding, and even the passage of time. To follow Jesus is to embark on a journey that calls for courage, humility, and the willingness to embrace challenges far beyond what the world might consider reasonable or convenient. For it is a path defined by self-denial and the metaphorical carrying of one's cross. This does not mean a life devoid of joy or fulfillment, nor does it suggest that every day is marked by hardship alone, but rather that true discipleship requires placing values, purpose, and devotion above comfort, convenience, and immediate gratification. Each choice to act with integrity when shortcuts beckon, each moment of restraint when impulses demand satisfaction, and each act of service when the easier path would be indifference, becomes a small yet significant step along this demanding yet profoundly rewarding journey. The cross one carries is not merely a burden, it is the instrument through which character is refined, faith is strengthened, and a life of enduring impact is forged, revealing that sacrifice, when guided by purpose, transforms struggle into profound meaning. Imagine the life of a young man navigating a world filled with distractions, pressures, and temptations, yet feeling an inner pull toward something greater than himself. He may face ridicule for choosing honesty over convenience, patience over anger, or generosity over self-interest. Yet these choices are the crosses he bears, shaping his character and allowing him to walk in alignment with values that transcend the fleeting standards of the world. Each sacrifice, each act of self-denial, no matter how small it may seem in the eyes of others, accumulates into a life of depth and significance, a life that reflects the teachings of Jesus not merely in words, but in the tangible, lived reality of courage, compassion, and integrity. The cross, in this sense, is less a symbol of suffering alone and more a tangible representation of commitment to a purpose that extends beyond the self, a reminder that the path to fulfillment often runs counter to worldly expectations. Throughout history, countless stories illustrate the transformative power of carrying one's cross with steadfast devotion. Individuals who faced rejection, persecution, or hardship for upholding principles of justice, kindness, and faith discovered that these very challenges became catalysts for growth, clarity, and influence. The act of denying oneself, of resisting impulses that serve only the self, creates space for values and purpose to flourish, allowing a life to bear fruit that is lasting and transformative. Just as a tree grows stronger when winds bend it, so too does the believer become more resilient, wise, and effective through the discipline of embracing life as crosses with faith. This process of self-denial and cross-bearing is deeply personal and often invisible to others. It is enacted in quiet moments of decision, in choices that may go unnoticed yet shape character and destiny profoundly. When a person forgives rather than retaliates, when they give rather than hoard, when they remain steadfast in hope amid despair, these are the crosses carried faithfully, the acts of self-denial that cultivate spiritual strength and enable a life to reflect divine purpose. It is in these moments that the transformative power of following Jesus is most apparent. As the individual learns to trust guidance beyond immediate understanding and to recognize that life's challenges, rather than obstructing joy, are integral to the growth and fulfillment that only a committed journey can provide. To embrace this path is to understand that true life is discovered not in avoiding difficulty, but in facing it with resolve, faith, and intentionality. Each cross carried, each act of self-denial, becomes a thread in the tapestry of a life lived fully in alignment with divine calling. It is in this discipline that ordinary moments are infused with extraordinary meaning, and the journey of following Jesus transforms from a series of choices into a life of enduring influence, impact, and profound fulfillment that reaches far beyond what the eyes can see or the mind can measure. In the journey of life, there is a tension that every person encounters between the pursuit of worldly gain and the surrender to a higher calling, a tension that reveals itself in choices large and small, in moments of temptation and in quiet decisions made far from the eyes of others. To chase after comfort, recognition, wealth, or approval may offer the illusion of security and satisfaction. Yet these pursuits, while alluring, are fleeting and ultimately hollow, for they focus on the temporary rather than the eternal, the superficial rather than the profound. Many have discovered, often through hardship or disappointment, that investing everything in the accumulation of worldly life prestige, possessions, or fleeting pleasures can result in a deep sense of emptiness, a realization that despite external success, the soul remains unsatisfied, and true fulfillment remains elusive. Contrast this with the life of surrender to God, a life in which the heart yields to divine guidance, aligning with values, purpose, and truth that transcend the immediate demands of the world. In surrender, one discovers freedom from the relentless pursuit of approval and the ceaseless comparison that society often imposes. The act of entrusting one's life to God is not passive resignation, but an active, courageous choice to live in accordance with a higher wisdom, to embrace a path of meaning, service, and integrity. Those who choose this path find that life, though still filled with challenges and trials, carries a depth and richness that worldly pursuits cannot provide. A sense of fulfillment rooted not in what is temporary, but in what endures beyond circumstance and time. Consider the story of a man who devoted his energy entirely to building a successful career, believing that wealth and status would secure happiness and recognition. On the surface, he achieved every goal he had set, yet inside he felt increasingly isolated, disconnected from the people he loved and from the sense of purpose he had longed for. It was only when he began to surrender to principles greater than himself through service, compassion, and trust in God that he discovered a profound sense of life, a fulfillment that no promotion or accolade could provide. His worldly losses, in a sense, became the gateway to an enduring life, one in which joy, connection, and meaning flourished not because he had acquired everything, but because he had let go of the illusions that had once defined his pursuit. This principle is echoed throughout history and personal experience. Those who cling tightly to the world often discover the limits of what it can offer, while those who open their hearts to God find a life that is unexpectedly abundant. Surrender does not erase difficulties, but it reshapes them, allowing trials to become teachers, setbacks become stepping stones, and the challenges of living with purpose to become opportunities for growth. Each act of faith, each moment of choosing values over convenience, strengthens a life that is not merely survived but truly lived, a life that leaves a legacy, shapes communities, and resonates with enduring significance. Living with this understanding transforms everyday choices. Decisions about relationships, work, honesty, generosity, and integrity are no longer guided solely by what is advantageous in the short term, but by what nurtures the soul, aligns with purpose, and contributes to a life of enduring value. The surrender to God, far from being a limitation, becomes a liberation, freeing the heart from the chains of comparison, fear, and transient ambition, and opening the door to a life that is measured not by external gain, but by depth, influence, and the quiet satisfaction of a soul attuned to what is eternal. Ultimately, the contrast is clear. Saving worldly life may offer temporary satisfaction, but leads to loss in the deeper sense, while surrendering to God, with courage and faith, opens the door to true life, a life rich in purpose, resilience, and fulfillment that no fleeting pleasure or material gain can replicate. revealing that the most meaningful victories are not measured by what we hold, but by what we allow to shape and transform us from within. As we reach the close of this journey, it becomes clear that no achievement, no possession, no measure of worldly success can ever equal the true worth of one's soul, for it is a treasure beyond comparison, irreplaceable, and incapable of being exchanged for any fleeting gain. The world may tempt us with wealth, status, and comfort, yet each of these is temporary, subject to change and decay, while the soul endures, carrying the essence of who we are and the eternal impact of the choices we make. To protect, nurture, and honor that inner treasure is the highest calling, the truest measure of a life well lived, and the ultimate source of lasting fulfillment. Think for a moment about the countless individuals who pursued riches or recognition at the expense of integrity, relationships, or purpose, only to find themselves empty, dissatisfied, or isolated. Their worldly gains could not fill the void, nor could they replace what had been lost in compromise or neglect. Conversely, those who have invested in the soul through love, compassion, service, faith, and the pursuit of truth have discovered a richness that transcends circumstance, a depth of meaning that endures through trials, and a peace that the world cannot give nor take away. This is the reward of living in alignment with the calling that has been placed upon each of us, a life in which the smallest acts of goodness accumulate into a legacy of lasting influence. The soul's worth is reflected in how we choose to live each day, in the moments when temptation whispers and we choose virtue instead, in the times when fear or doubt arises and we choose courage, in the countless decisions that shape character and define the impact we leave on others. By valuing the soul above all else, we embrace a path that may not always be easy or applauded, yet it is infinitely more rewarding than any worldly accolade. This understanding frees us from chasing illusions, allowing us to focus on what truly matters, to invest our energy in relationships, acts of kindness, and deeds that bear eternal significance. As we close this reflection, I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of insight and discovery. Your time and attention means so much, and I hope these words have inspired you to consider the value of your own soul, the choices you make, and the path you walk each day. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who might benefit from this message, so we can continue exploring together the timeless truths that guide a meaningful life. May your nights be filled with peace, your hearts with clarity, and your souls with enduring joy. Good night, and may you awaken tomorrow with renewed purpose and a deeper awareness of the treasure within you.